Welcome, everyone. We have a special guest here. We're here to talk about Pilates. The workout, the ins and outs of it. And I'm here with my special guest, Karen Vizueta.
Yes.
Nice to have you here.
So nice to be here today.
I've known Karen for a while online. Been watching a lot of YouTube videos. We have an online course with Karen as well. Around the principles of Pilates, what it means and how it can be applied in many different scenarios, and in many different treatment plans, workout plans, rehabilitation plans, etc., etc. So my first question to you, Karen, is just in this world where it's so jammed with so many different types of workouts and so much information, what's right, what isn't right, how many times a week you should be doing this and that. And there's like so much. So on that menu of fitness, exercises, workouts, all these different things, in your opinion, like where does, as a Pilates instructor, where does Pilates stand today?
Danny, I love that question because Pilates is really the root of your body. It's talking about core strength. It's talking about flexibility, alignment, posture. So Pilates really can be incorporated into any workout. And that's what I love about it. Pilates stemmed back from the early 1900s, developed by Joseph Pilates, who came about using your own body weight and practice and developed principles. And he worked he was from Germany, came to the U.S., worked in prison, and actually developed these techniques with prisoners and would teach them that. And then fast forward later, he came about opening studios and just his love for teaching dancers about the alignment of Pilates, the flexibility, and getting the mobility for them with this practice. So recently, we hear about Pilates everywhere, right?
Everywhere, yeah.
And Pilates is not just a fad because it really, clients get addicted to it because it makes them feel good. So it's not just making them feel good in their bodies, but their minds, because it's more of a relaxing their nervous system technique. So where I see Pilates, you come and practice it, you're taking that Pilates, now you're taking it to your strength training sessions. You're taking it into your HIIT workouts, your cycling workouts, because it's about the alignment, the posture, how we're doing things through everyday life.
So do you think it's about like, so for someone like me, who I've taken a few mat Pilates classes, which I also want to ask you about the mat versus reformer thing. But I've taken a few mat Pilates classes. So for someone like me who I don't prioritize, let's say, Pilates as general as my go-to workout, because again, there's so many things you have to do and want to do.
Yes.
So for me, it's some strength training, body weight, some weights, some dumbbell stuff that I do, some running, and some yoga. For now, that's kind of my menu of working out and staying fit and staying healthy. So I can still apply Pilates into my running workouts. I can apply Pilates principles into my strength workouts, which I think that I have maybe inadvertently, subconsciously.
Exactly.
But I think I have just by attending.
Yes.
Pilates classes.
I'll take that note. So I used to teach a lot of Pilates mat classes, and I finally got a lot of men to come into the classes. And, they would look in the windows for a couple of weeks and say, what are they doing? They're not even doing anything in there. When they finally came into those classes, their legs are shaking, their abs are burning, and then they got addicted to it. So I feel like Pilates is something you can't judge a book by the cover. It looks like, when you look at someone doing Pilates, what are they doing? They're not even working. But that's just the opposite. And when you start to see how your body changes and how you feel, you're going to keep doing it. Another thing with Pilates is injuries. I get a lot of clients who have done a workout, maybe strength training. They come back because their hips hurt, their back hurts, their knees hurt, and now they need Pilates. So they're coming and begging for help. And it's a practice where not only is it good for your body working out, but it's preventative. So as you get older, you can't do things on your joints. It's great for all ages, right?
It almost seemed like to me, we're in a world where at least back then, let's say 20 years ago, 15 years ago, when I started doing strength training, weight training, it's like we're so focused on the big, muscles, the superficial
Sure.
muscles, the biceps, the pecs,
Yes.
the upper back or the trapezius. Those the muscles that we can
Yes.
see, and that the movies have put all the
Attention on that.
attention to.
Yes.
And then when working on Pilates, it's maybe from the outside a bit less glamorous, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because again, you said someone could be looking through the window and thinking like, what are all these people doing
Yes.
there?
They're just sitting there.
But it does feel like, when you do, I don't know, I remember like laying on my side on the mat, and just raising my right leg parallel to the ground.
Sure.
And like almost like pulsing it.
Yeah.
Like
pulses.
100 times, and then feeling a tremendous like burn around my hips, which every time I do exercises like that, again, I always feel the benefit of it. But the downside to those things, maybe like other workouts as well, is that it's always like you never build up credit, right? It's always temporary. It's always
Yes,
something
you have to keep
like
doing
you have to
it.
keep
You have to
doing.
build. You have to work it, right? So when you work the body in that nature, you're getting length, you're getting flexibility, and the core. So learning how to breathe, right? A lot of us today in this world, we're rushing around, we're stressed out. The breath is short and shallow. So Pilates teaches us how to breathe in through the nose. Some practices are out the nose, some are out the mouth, depending on where you were trained. But it really teaches you to get that deep breath and to get the breath deep into the lungs and not short and shallow, to relax the nervous system. And the key is to how to engage the core. So back in the day, I don't know if you remember this, I'm probably a lot older than you, but you were always told to hold your abs in so tight, hold and squeeze. Yeah. Well, when we do that, we put too much intra-abdominal pressure, right? Down in the pelvic floor, and we're holding too tight, tensing up our neck. So Pilates teaches us to relax all of that and engage the core, maybe about the deep abdominals 10%. So you're not, super making your body tensed up or doing damage to the pelvic floor. So it teaches you how to relax that nervous system, how to engage the core in your big strength workouts the correct way.
What do you think it is that's maybe difficult to grasp? Is there something when
that is difficult? Learning how to engage the pelvic floor. Women have pelvic floor with pregnancies. We work a lot with that to keep it strong. Men also have pelvic floors. So teaching them how to do that, how to just breathe, right? We all think we know how to breathe every day, but we're not breathing correctly, getting in that deep breath. Not tensing up, not holding in the belly.
So what's maybe a way of teaching someone in the classroom who's obviously struggling with maintaining their breath while performing 100 reps of something?
So that takes time too. Yeah. So teaching the breath as one of the principles in the beginning, we'll have our hands onto the rib cage and we'll inhale through the nose, and you want to feel the ribs opening east and west. So laterally going out, and then as you exhale, you gently feel that come in.
And when you chest breathe, then you don't really
get all the air into the body.
You don't expand the ribs.
Exactly. So you want that deep lateral breath.
So even while performing exercises in a workout, one should feel their ribs expanding east and west?
So in the breathing principles in the beginning of class, you'll do that for the warm-up, right? It might not be as noticeable during class, but that it teaches you that breath of how to get that deep breath laterally.
So those are things like that one would think about at least while performing the exercises.
And it's a mind practice too. So I always tell my clients, mind-muscle connection. You hear me say that in every class, mind-muscle connection. Why? Because they may be laying on the floor, lifting their leg up, thinking about the laundry they have to do, and they're flinging that leg. They're not recruiting the glute medius. They're just doing the movement. And what may be happening, their pelvis, their back, their spine may be out of alignment. Right? So what is that? You're not getting the workout done. So I say, while you're here, this 45 minutes, this 50 minutes, think of the muscles you're working when you're working them. And I always try to cue what they should be feeling, because that's what good instructors should do. Because otherwise, I feel it in my low back. Okay, are you engaging your core enough? If not, limit the range of motion. So don't kick the leg up as high, make it a little bit shorter. So there's things that you can do for your individual body, because every body is different. Whether you're an athlete, you're more sedentary, sitting at a desk all day, we have to treat all those individuals as instructors differently so they get the best out of it. I want to make sure my cues can reach everyone in class and they can benefit from it. So how do we do that? It takes time, right? It takes time. It takes you as a participant coming back to class and thinking and talking to those muscles. So you're using the correct muscles. right? A lot of the times on the bridge work, when we lie on our back and lift up the glutes, our glutes, for most of us who sit at a desk, are weak. So we have to learn how to turn those on. So that'll help prevent hip pain, also misalignment of the pelvis. So I'm always, as an instructor, trying to teach clients and remind them, because we have so much on our minds, to talk to that muscle and to be mindful.
Talk to the muscle.
Talk to the muscle.
Yeah, which is something that sounds weird, but it's like a conversation that works, and a conversation that happens silently within you.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. It's if one thinks it sounds a bit silly, try. because it maybe will help. Because
it will help.
Even like a bridge.
Yeah.
A bridge can very easily be done with your glutes not being squeezed or activated at all, right?
To lift up with the back.
Yeah, that's what. So also and that's also from me in Pilates classes, it wasn't the glutes, but a couple other exercises that I always thought that I was performing correctly,
Yes.
but I again, from someone peeking through the window, they would think that I was performing the exercises correctly, but I wasn't engaging the correct muscles.
Exactly.
Or just not engaging certain muscles.
Yes.
And maybe losing something from that, and also a bridge, or even a one-legged bridge. With the one-legged bridge, I feel like it's always it's harder to not activate the glutes
because you're gonna fall to the floor.
Exactly. But with the double-legged bridge, which is a very common, popular exercise,
in every
so even me, if I usually do it as a warm-up to most workouts, especially if I go running, just a few a few bridges. If I'm not focused, it's easy to do my 10 reps without squeezing my glutes.
And I always say that you're here, you don't have enough hours in the day, so focus while you're here so you can get the benefits. You can see, you can feel the benefits.
So what's your story? How did you discover Pilates?
So I've heard of Pilates. Now I've been teaching fitness in college. I always had just a passion for it. So I would teach step aerobics was my thing, right? Cardio, high interval, things to that nature. And one of my college
in college
I started, and she did a presentation on Joseph Pilates, and I've never heard of him. And then from there, when I worked, I graduated University of Rhode Island. I worked in New York City, and I managed gyms, and Pilates was a thing. We were selling Pilates Reformer classes. I got interested in it, and I went through the trainings and the courses. And then what I realized is all of my step mentors and cardio mentors, they were all having hip replacements. And I said, and I think I was just at that pace where I taught so many high intensity workouts, but then I started bringing in yoga. I don't teach yoga, I take that for myself, and the Pilates practices. And I think that was such a blessing that I found that then. So I got into that. Then I got certified to teach on the apparatus, the Pilates Reformer, and I do mat and reformer to this day. But adding in such type workouts, for me, kept my body aligned, healthy, out of pain. Because when you are an instructor, you're in the fitness world and you're teaching. I was at one point doing 20 classes a week. You need to make sure you're balancing that out.
So how long now have you been practicing Pilates?
Oh, over 20 years, I would say.
And you feel good?
I feel good, yeah.
No hip replacement.
Listen to me, I'll tell you.
So
I start going jogging because I think I could just wake up and jog 5 miles when I haven't done it in a while. And what is my body telling me? You better go do some Pilates, because I didn't stretch, right? So here I am teaching it. But it is so important to go back to those basics, to do a Pilates warm-up maybe before a run. And it has to be complemented in workouts,
Yeah, because there's this concept even for athletes, right?
Sure.
They might not refer to it as Pilates, but even elite athletes I'm talking about, in their warm-up exercises, you kind of see them do Pilates exercises.
Yeah,
right?
They may not call it that. Sure.
And they'll refer to it as like turning on certain muscles.
Absolutely.
Or certain areas of the body.
Yeah.
A lot of times around the hips and glutes.
Yes, so mobility work. And it's a lot of young kids, my kids are athletes in high school. I've taught them foam rolling techniques and using a band and to warm up, because a lot of kids are getting injured, right? We're doing overuse of sports these days. You're doing the same thing so many times, so many reps. If you're playing something where you're going in a forward motion, Pilates works more lateral. So when you're lying down, in Pilates, we work everything. We work lateral. We go into flexion, extension. So you're working in all the different planes of movement that your body needs. So I think it's just so important to add. I mean, whether you're 90 years old or you're 20, it's going to benefit you.
So on that, like someone who's 90 years old, even because the Pilates practice can be done in a very delicate way, right? Where like no one should be injuring themselves or overstraining themselves to some degree.
Yeah, it should, it's individualized. So there's options if you need them, right? So if you're really advanced and your core is strong and you've been doing Pilates for a while, if you're lying down, say in a hundreds position, that's where you pump the arms to warm up, your legs may be out at an angle. So longer levers. Now there's a bigger pull on the core, so you have to work harder. If I had someone who is maybe a little bit older or had a neck sensitivity, you're doing the same exercise, your head is on the mat, your knees are bent in or even on the floor. So now you're in more of a closed chain with those feet connected to the floor and you have more support. So you can bring that to both people, the same cues, the same exercises, but different, they're in different positions.
And in terms of progression, then any slight, shift of angle can add that progression.
Add that burn, yes. Putting the legs out, coming up in the curl.
Yeah.
And then we add props, right? The mini ball is my favorite prop because you can then put that through the inner thighs, adding some inner thigh work. My clients love when we lie on the ball and do some leg work, so you get a little stability balance challenge on the ball, a small equipment that you could use at home. And it just feels good for the back as well.
And your kids listen to you when you give them Pilates?
No, they didn't, but
insights?
Now they are when their muscles start to ache. So my son does use the foam roller. He takes it with him to practice. Yes, as they get older, they get a little wiser, but before they didn't. But
that's so cool.
Now. Yeah. I love it.
So how would you say your personal journey with Pilates has evolved since 20 years ago when you first discovered Joseph Pilates in a presentation? Because there's I think probably in any profession that one is dedicating their life to, in terms of like staying with it in a journey for life, one step is discovering it, another step is getting educated in it, and then it's a whole nother thing like actually practicing it for 20 years. So you've done your tens of thousands of hours, I'm assuming by now, of Pilates. So if you're looking back at yourself 20 years ago when you first started exploring it to now, do you think you practice the same way? Do you think have you given it now when you teach other people, like your Karen Vizueta spice on top of Joseph Pilates' teachings?
Yes, I think I do definitely have my own spice, my own personality into it. And I'm always, like you want to follow what you learned and how you learned. So I took different types of certifications back in the day. But what I did learn as an instructor is it's okay to not know the answer. It's okay if someone has an issue or sensitivity or an injury. Oh, let me research that and get back to you. Let me see how I can put a program together. So as an instructor, don't think in the beginning you have to know it all. You're going to learn. And then as I learned and had so many clients, I take that knowledge and just bring it to the next. And I know it feels good because they come back and tell me, oh, my hip feels so much better after last class. I miss Pilates. I was traveling for work. And that's one reason why I started my YouTube channel. I need to come to class today. And I think also what I've learned is that it takes time and everyone's at their levels. So I have to teach different, like I said before, different positions, different levels in one class environment, and give the options. So you make it hard for people, but also give options to take it to your own pace. And that's why people do enjoy coming to my class, because they feel comfortable. I want everyone to feel comfortable. I don't want them to feel like, oh no, look at her, she has her legs in the air. I can't do that. And some people will say, I'm not ready to come to your class yet. You're always ready, because I will make it available for you. I will give you the options. So I think just learning to embrace everyone, which I always have, but really now to gain the knowledge from my experience to make sure I make them feel comfortable and give them the cues that makes Danny feel comfortable, that makes Susie feel comfortable, and get results.
Do you think that men shy away from Pilates?
Well, let me tell you, I've used to have tons of men in my mat class, as I said before. Little by little, there was a 6 a.m. crew. So we were all up early. And I love 6 a.m. crews because you know what? You're ready there. You want to work. You want to get your workout in, and you want to go get out of the gym.
There aren't that many lazy people joining your 6 a.m.
There's not. Let me tell you that. So they were not lazy, ready to work, and they saw the benefits. So on Tuesdays, we would have Pilates mat. On Thursdays, we would do a boot camp. So what we did was we started to get the men on Thursdays, come to Pilates, come to Pilates. And once they did that, they were able to jump higher in class. They were able to sprint faster in the boot camp. They were able to do more things because their mobility, it just increased. Their flexibility increased. So
foundation,
amazing.
right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And the form was just better. So when you're lifting weights, you don't see the rounded shoulders. You see that form. They're learning how to engage the core now, 10% in their strength class that we learned on the mat. So it's a nice compliment. But I would love to see more men.
But do you think that there is like some negative stereotype that men kind of shy away from Pilates? As like, I have zero friends, guys, men, who I know that go to Pilates.
Interesting. Yeah.
Same with the yoga.
Yes.
You know, I think if I drop into a random yoga class, there will be men, but there'll be mostly women. The few Pilates classes that I have been to, I was one of few men in the class. And I think men should go and should discover. I'm just from your perspective, if you've seen
I think
that.
men need it the most because most of the time hips are tight, right? Whether we do the strength training, the cycling, the running, a lot of runners. So yeah, there are not a lot of men in Pilates. You are correct. But I think if you started going, you feel the benefits, you see the benefits, it would grow the program. It would grow the practice for men.
And they will see the benefits, yes.
Absolutely.
Most likely.
I mean, you need the lightest dumbbell in your hand if you're using some weights for Pilates and you're shaking.
But is that do you think that's the ego thing with men? Is that you're going to lay on the mat and hold a 2 pound 2 pound weights?
It's funny you say that because I used to say bring in weights to the Pilates class and these men would come in with 20-pound weights and all of us would just look and say, okay, just wait. And they were struggling. So it could be partially ego. But once you get over that and, I love when people just don't care about that stuff because you see how good you feel from it and how much it's going to help you. So it would be amazing. Because back pain goes away with Pilates. It can, right? Hip pain can go away. You can run faster. So if you added a little bit into your running game or your strength game, the benefits would just be amazing.
Yeah, in a way, I wish that it was more, same with yoga, by the way, that they were both more simplified and it's like the term Pilates and the term yoga. It's like the terms are. It seems to me like barriers. That they're barriers where, like a guy who maybe hasn't worked out in 3 years. The truth is that guy starting to work out now after taking a break for 3 years. Probably should
absolutely
only do yoga and Pilates before starting
to get that foundation back. Yes.
But that guy will most likely go to the gym and rack up a weight
and possibly get injured
and do some squats and do some bench press and do some bicep curls. Or just go for a run because he remembers the days when he was younger and he used to just go for runs without feeling pain.
That's right.
So that's what I wish. I wish that it was a bit more transparent, a bit less scary.
And there is Pilates for golfers, right? So if you can think of or pickleball is a big sport today. All of the principles in Pilates will help that.
I know. And you mentioned pickleball. Have you played pickleball?
No, I mean I played for fun once on a driveway, but no. Have you?
I've played a few times.
Yes.
Yeah, I've played a few times. It's fun. It's fun.
Yeah.
But what I do see, usually if you go to a place, I live in Florida, so they've put up these pickleball courts.
Sure, you have good weather for that.
All over the place. And it just seems to me that there's you see all these older individuals playing pickleball. I just amongst the racket hitting and celebrating points together, I see a lot of future knee replacements and hip replacements and shoulder
I have a lot of injuries from pickleball coming back to Pilates.
So on that, is very intuitive for me also with my experience with Pilates of thinking about the hips and back is what I remember focusing on. Is it a lot of shoulder work as well and good for shoulder stability?
Yes, absolutely. So, if you work on the Pilates Reformer, which is the apparatus, there's spring load. So you can add, you're doing movements where you have spring. So you're building muscle with that spring. But you're also doing mobility work, right? Whether you're on the mat or the reformer for the upper body. You're doing back work with spring load. So you're getting that strength component into it along with the flexibility and mobility.
Yeah.
Right. So
and is that specifically with the reformer?
Yes, with the reformer. And with mat, you can use, plank work with your own body weight. So you would get the shoulder work.
Yeah.
Also doing, lying on your belly in that position, prone, lifting up, you're getting extension. So that's another thing I really like to stress when you're lying on your stomach and you're lifting up. If you're not fitness oriented, you're just swinging your arms in the air, you're lifting, as opposed to, I always say, scoop up a marble with your belly button, engage your back muscles to lift. So now your core is engaged. And as you lift up, it's not my arm flying up, it's posterior. We don't engage those muscles enough. We're here, look at us sitting down, right? So lying on your belly, just lifting up, using those posterior muscles, you're sweating, you're shaking. So it's again, that mind muscle, talk to your muscles and do stuff that you don't do every day, right? To strengthen, to align, to balance. So you do get shoulder work, you do get upper body. And again, your core, we used to think back in the day, it's your six-pack muscle. It's not just that, right?
So let's talk about that, the six-pack. Because I think if we picked on the average person on the street,
sure,
and asked them about that, it's the six-pack muscle.
Yes.
So what is the core, and how do we engage it? And how do we differentiate it from the six-pack?
Yeah. So the six-pack is more superficial layer. It's right there, right? But we also know we can do a million crunches, they call them, or abdominal work. We have to eat healthy too. And I'm a big component of eating healthy, not for how we look, but how we feel, right? With today's food, we have to fuel ourselves for energy and for how we feel. So that six-pack muscle, superficial, yes, we can get it, but we also have to work on diet, work on cardio, and now the deep core, which is underneath there, right? So you have the transverse, and that's your deepest layer. Think of it like your body's, I like to say, like a little belt or a girdle, and that's wraps all the way around that belly, and that's what we learn.
Like a cylinder type thing.
Yeah, like a corset type thing.
Yeah.
And that includes some back muscles, your hip flexors. So we're not just talking rectus abdominis, right?
Yeah.
We got obliques, the internal, external obliques, rectus abdominis, that's more superficial, but that deep core. And that's also what I teach clients how to engage, because we could be sitting right here and engaging the deep core, right? Lifting up through the pelvic floor, little tactile feeling with your finger. I always use cues so they can feel. And I say 10%. Picture this, you're jumping in a cold lake and you jump. That's the engagement you want in your core. Yeah, like a quick little jump. But you don't want pushing down, you don't want holding, because that's going to do more damage, right?
Yeah.
It's too much pressure.
Because also it's like a concept that takes time to really kind of grasp and learn.
Sure.
I don't know, it took me, maybe just because of my young age when I started working out, it took me years to kind of understand how to activate the core
and feel it.
Separate it though from the six-pack muscles, the superficial muscles, because also then when you activate the core, I used to just activate the superficial muscles, like like trying to show my six-pack,
sure,
without even acknowledging that there's anything deeper deeper in it, and also grasping the concept that it encompasses, like it goes around all of your body from the inside. So
much different.
And once I learned slightly, and maybe I also now apply this Pilates principle. You said the 10%.
Yes.
And that's the part you want to activate 10%, right?
Yeah, the transverse.
The transverse part of the core. I feel like that's all I need to activate in order to pick up something heavy from the ground.
That's right.
Or in the gym, in the gym I used to picking up heavy weights. I would think about keeping my back straight. I would think about bending my knees, but I wouldn't put any thought into the core. And now I only think about the core. Yes. And the rest kind of...
Also, when we get older, we think about all that stuff, right?
Yeah. So true. So I'm thinking about older individuals who are very frail and pick up things and get injured all the time.
Sure. Yes.
Many of them are probably not even thinking about strengthening their core, engaging their core, and creating that as the foundation before everything else.
And then when you have a stronger core, As you also get older, it helps with balance, right? If you're on one leg or if you fall, you trip. So the core is, it just has so many benefits.
So I like that. What did you say to pick up your back muscles, to use your belly
like you're
to
lifting
pinch?
up a marble. So if you're lying
yes.
on the floor, so how do you engage it in that prone position?
Yes.
It's I try to use all those cues.
No, that's great. So, so I was going to say, so that was a great example, because even me, you immediately kind of understand what that means.
Just gently.
I always I try and think to myself sometimes, if someone is pinching my lower back and pulling it, that's my own cue for myself.
Yeah.
But what other cue popular cue that you like, that you use, that you see that resonates with people in terms of understanding again how you engage that core?
Yeah. So I get them in a position where we're starting out lying on our backs with the knees bent, and then you do an imprint and a release. So we put our thumb to the bottom rib, the pinky finger to the top hip bone.
So thumbs to the bottom rib.
Yep,
and
pinky
pinkies?
finger to the top hip bone.
Okay.
So you have those 2 points, and then you draw the belly button gently in toward the spine. So now if you're lying on the floor, the low back would come to the mat.
Yep.
You're feeling the rectus abdominis, you're feeling these abdominals engage. And that I refer to as your imprint. And then we release that with a little tilt, and you have a slight arch to the back. Now, some clients sometimes already have that natural arch, right? Also, if you're pregnant, your hips may be tighter because you have your belly growing. You have more of an anterior tilt. So doing things off the floor, here's where I say, and I have to individualize it. You're going to have to keep your feet maybe on the floor or bend your knees a little bit more to get that imprint, what we talked about, because you're already in that arch. You're already in that tilt, right? Again, if you have super tight hips, you might have more of an anterior tilt in the back. So everything there is connected. So what do? Work on the hips, whether we foam roll them out, we stretch, we work them in side lying series and Pilates to open the hips. That's going to help if we have maybe any back pain to come out of that arch. So there's a lot you can do for your posture, working from the core inside out. That's super important. Another thing is what we said before, when you're doing ab work, where to feel it. If you're doing traditional crunches, a lot of times what do we see? The neck pulling forward, right? We call that tech neck now. Everyone's in front of the computers. We don't need more of that.
Yeah.
So sometimes I'll have my clients instead hands here, right? If we're doing things so they're not putting that extra excess pressure onto the neck or head.
Yeah, that's a good one. Also with crunches, again, even
which Pilates instructors probably don't like the word crunches.
Yeah.
Right?
No, but
we call it an ab prep, but yeah.
So what do you call it? An ab?
Maybe an ab prep. Ab prep lifting up.
I see, but it's something that is done, an ab prep, or what we know as a crunch. It is done in Pilates.
Yes, to lift off the floor, we come up slowly, but we're not crunching we're not coming all the way up unless we do a half roll back, but we're articulating the spine. And that's another thing we work on in Pilates is spinal articulation. But
it's almost like, so it's spinal articulation is a difficult concept to explain. So, even me, like talking to my parents, I'm like, just don't do crunches. Yeah. Just don't do crunches. Because, when you see people do crunches, even like if we go again to a random gym now in New Jersey and we see people do crunches, it's a lot of what you said, bending the neck, and a lot of like momentum, like, a lot of like, throwing forward, and a lot of people develop also lower back pains from doing crunches, because it's one of those things that people think, I'll do as many as I can because then I'll have a six pack, and people's back hurts.
Too much pressure, yeah. As opposed to maybe doing some planks, working the transverse, right? Yeah. And getting everything around the core nice and strong.
Yeah. Pregnant women. So have you worked with pregnant women? Did you practice when you were pregnant?
Yeah.
Did you keep up with Pilates when you were pregnant?
I have 3 kids. I taught through all pregnancies. Again, with modifications. So you always want to talk to your doctor. You always want to make sure you get that approval that you're okay to keep moving. And you never, when you're pregnant, you don't want to start something new. So if you've never done, Pilates before, you don't want to come in full-fledged, but there are moves that you can do. The side lying stuff is amazing because you're on your side, you're working your hips. Just toward the end of the pregnancy, when you get a little more mobile with some hormones, you want to watch the range of motion of your legs and things to that nature. And then we talk about with pregnancy, you can have the diastasis separation, recti, where your abdominal wall can separate. Yeah. So you definitely want to go to a Pilates instructor or a pelvic floor therapist who knows about that stuff. And women aren't told in the hospital, that you could have a little separation of that abdominal wall, and they might be cleared to go work out, and they go back and they do those crunches, and they're making that separation worse before they heal their bodies, right? So Pilates is great for pregnant women. I have a ton of them, all around. I'll put them on a box if we're on the machine, if we're on the reformer to do the work. So we use modifications and different props to keep them comfortable. But after pregnancy, move into it slowly, get someone who knows what they're doing so you can heal accordingly and then avoid any pelvic floor complications after that.
So definitely one to that helps with recovery from pregnancy and kind of maybe rebuilding a foundation that has been potentially damaged throughout the pregnancy and throughout the birth.
Rebuilding the pelvic floor, rebuilding the abdominal walls to come back together. And there's tests you can do to see if your abdominal wall is separated and how far and things of that nature.
Pelvic floor in the therapy world, in our world of education, is
women don't know enough about it. Yes.
It almost seems like, and men.
Sure.
It's like we don't know. It's like this mysterious thing.
No one wants to talk about.
That no one wants to see. That no one wants to talk about.
Yeah.
So it's Pilates exercise is very much. Does it help build that pelvic floor? Because the pelvic floor in its own, just by the name of it as well, it is some sort of a foundational part of the human structure.
Exactly.
Right? The human structure,
yes,
right?
Yes.
Like so crucial and so important, and one that some people probably overwork, some people don't work enough, but it's not in our conscious mind that when we're thinking, right? The guy in the gym or the woman in the gym there is probably not thinking about the pelvic floor.
Exactly. But I encourage, women, men, especially, childbearing, to ask, after their pregnancy, about a physical therapist that specializes in that can help them get back to feeling good. Because you can, also you hold a lot of stress in your pelvic floor, right? If we're tight all the time, think of the stress that we can hold in the hip flexors and pelvic floor.
Yeah.
So again, just the breathing also that Pilates teaches us and physical therapists will help any issues that can occur. Another thing is with a lot of physical therapists, they refer their clients to Pilates classes, to Pilates instructors, because it's so close and tightly related to the exercises that they're giving their patients and their clients.
Yeah, like just a lot of rehabilitation type exercises or foundation building.
Yeah.
Foundation building exercises.
Exactly. So you can't go wrong with it.
Yeah. When it comes to the breathing, the pelvic, the Pilates breathing, you mentioned the east-west with the lungs. Is it something though that people should also outside of the classroom practice throughout the day?
Yes.
But is that something also you encourage?
I mean, breathing in general, I actually talk at the end of class, to take deep breaths in and out. And I say, take this with you. If you're at your desk, if you feel stressed out, take that time to step away, to take those deep breaths. Take in through the nose. Sometimes there's also other breathing techniques you can hold for 3 seconds, release, just to get that nervous system to relax, to get the air into the lungs and the body. And another thing is digestion, right? You need that breath to get everything moving. So today's world, we're so caught up in that fight or flight nervous system. We're on the go, we're stressed. So Pilates helps complement with the breath, with the movement of the body, getting rid of those tight hips, releasing the pelvic floor, working muscles that are weak and lengthening muscles that are tight. So it helps encompass, I think, everything that's stress related in the body today, right? And it helps release that.
Do you oversee your own workouts, or do you follow someone, or do you get your workouts elsewhere?
Yeah, so I do go to a gym and do my own workouts outside of my house. I have my little studio, my gym set up in my house, so I will do that. And I will take a yoga class or go to other classes. I've been doing a 30-minute HIIT class at a local gym, because sometimes I just don't want to hear my own voice. I want to go to somebody else, and I want to focus away from everyone and just take attention for me. And I've been running lately, again, noticing my hips are getting a little older, so I have to be a little more mindful of the warm-ups and the activation of the glutes and things to that.
What do you think? What do you think kind of drives your decision making when it comes to working out, and what you prioritize and how it evolves also over time? You look strong, you look great. So you're obviously doing something right. We could give all the credit to Joseph Pilates.
That's right.
But it seems like you involve, you do a mixture of things,
Sure.
which is also what we spoke about in the beginning.
Yes.
So you're not sitting here saying that you only do Pilates workouts.
No.
You do a bit of everything. So
Yeah.
what do you think from your perspective, like kind of drives that?
I think doing strength, cardio, and some type of Pilates mobility yoga is key for everyone's body. So I do strength training about 4 days a week. I do cardio, but not long cardio, 20 minutes, little bouts. I have a bike at the house. I go for a run. I may do a HIIT class. But also as we get older, especially in the menopause stages or perimenopause, the stress levels are high, cortisol is high. You don't want to be doing 50-minute workouts. You'll see negative effects on the body. So I'm focusing more on, I would say, lower impact. I used to do a lot of high step and all that stuff. But I still do HIIT workouts that I get my heart rate up and make that a daily practice.
So, but like you mentioned that you just started running again.
Yeah.
So like, why did you stop running beforehand? Why was there
I hate running and I hate eating broccoli. And what do I do every day? Run and eat broccoli because I know how I feel afterward.
Yeah.
So I stopped for a while. The weather got nicer recently, so that then motivated me to start moving again outside, and that did motivate me. But I my favorite is strength training and Pilates and Barre. Barre is a big part of my practice. So think of it as almost standing Pilates, where you have a little mini ball between the legs and inner thighs. You're incorporating that stuff, lengthening of the muscles. Again, originating from ballet and dance. I'm definitely not a dancer. I'm more of an athlete. So I take more of a fitness base into those types of things, which I absolutely love. But Barre, I love.
So Barre derives from the dance world.
Sure. Yeah.
And is it, because I think I've seen like Barre Pilates classes.
Yeah.
Is that a thing?
It is a thing. And I'm certified by STOTT Pilates. So they actually have a total Barre, I think it's called, where they incorporate, a lot of the same principles and stuff into their Barre program. So a lot of the same principles, and now you're standing, right? So I do love Pilates, but you're always on the floor, right? For the most part. So it's so important to then make sure you're doing workouts where you're standing up, right? Because I have clients who only do that and then they come up and they can balance a little bit. We have to do more movement up in a standing position and an upright position. Yeah. So Barre is one of my ultimate favorites.
So you touched on menopause,
Yes.
just how the state of the body changes,
Sure.
and that one might do more work, let's say, if you said like 50 minutes, and then actually see negative results from cardio versus just doing 20 minutes.
Yes.
So what's the relationship there with?
So your body's already in a stress mode, and you're getting more hormone levels. So when you do HIIT workouts, those levels increase, the cortisol levels. And then when you get too much of that in your body, you can actually, everyone's trying to lose weight. You can hold on to the weight, hold on to the inflammation, as opposed to doing more walks and shorter bouts of exercise, breathing.
That's probably a concept difficult to grasp.
It's very hard. Yeah. Because nervous system work.
Because I imagine you saying that to women who maybe are unhappy with their figure or how they're feeling, and they're like, "Yeah, shut up! I need to do my 60-minute HIIT workout to sweat it all out and lose weight." Yeah.
So I always say that, we'll try a Pilates, try incorporating something different, and just do it for 3 weeks and see how you feel. Just try it.
Yeah, because it kind of it will mellow you down, right? The Pilates, it's not as even. You'll get the burning sensation. You'll feel your muscles absolutely, but you don't get that sweat drenched after a HIIT workout.
Yeah, and you still, strength training is so important, right? As we lose bone density too, so you have to lift weights. And that's another thing. If I see someone in my Pilates class lifting a 1-pound weight, okay, can you lift a little bit more? You carry your grandkids, you carry cases of water. So let's prepare for that, right? And as long as they don't have any injuries, let's increase that load a little bit. So challenge yourself, right? I'm always challenging myself. And I think the thing is, like, what motivates me is, first of all, my kids, right? I want to keep going for them. I want to, I want to be able to move and feel good. So working out and exercise is a huge part of our house.
That's amazing. And teaching Pilates, you mentioned you started what was it?
20 years ago, maybe.
Yeah, but what was the first the aerobics classes?
Oh, the strength training, the step.
The step
was my thing.
Step. Yeah,
that was my jam. Yeah.
So so starting, that was your first experience teaching.
Yes. Yeah.
And then evolved into Pilates, and then recently, I'm assuming more recent than then, started online teaching.
Yes.
So how's that relationship been? Because being in the room with people, smelling people's sweat,
yes.
Looking people in the eye, giving them cues, seeing how they react to you, versus the online world. How's that transition been to you?
So
because you're very much now online, right?
I'm very much more online
Yes.
than I am in person. Yeah. So I still do a few in-persons because I like that energy. I like to see and feel and to make sure I have that connection with people. But going online on YouTube, I think we've been here for 13 years. I've had my workout hotel channel. I can touch more people, and I did it. I had a friend that was moving. I was like, what am I going to do? I'm moving. I can't take your workouts. I'm like, I wish there was a way I could send her a video. And then I thought about it, and then we started the YouTube channel. And then
which now seems intuitive, but 13 years ago
it didn't. It was very new. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or one of my clients, I'm going on vacation. What can I do? I wish I could give them, and I could give them, but am I going to write down for every client and get you? So I wanted something more. And then I thought about that, and then that's when we started workout hotel. So the idea is, I'm your fitness concierge. I want you to feel comfortable. I want everyone to be invited. And I want you to do these workouts and come back for more. And that's kind of how we started that brand.
That's fantastic. So is that the workout hotel is so you're the concierge.
I'm the concierge
of their fitness world.
Exactly.
during the travel days or whatever they are. And then COVID came. And then everyone's doing type of Zoom sessions and that type of thing.
Yeah.
So you mentioned you have the workout hotel stuff that you publish videos online.
Sure.
But then also the live classes.
Yeah. So then I do have a fit club where you can pay $9.99 every month, and you can be part of my fit club where I now give you a calendar, and every Wednesday I go live with the community, and I love it because we're chatting, we have people from all over the world, different time zones, and just to have that community of people coming together every week for a workout is awesome. And then we have a private Facebook page where we can communicate, and we do Zoom workouts. I have special guests coming on, and that's it. It's just building a world where you're making people feel better, not just in their bodies but in their minds, staying motivated.
Yeah, and so is that a crucial part that you also try and emphasize with people that come and work out with you, learn from you, study with you, that just the what I mentioned a few minutes 30 minutes ago on, you don't build up any credit really. Like if you can kind of work on fixing your back pain and building a foundation. But the foundation is temporary. The foundation will disappear very quickly if you don't kind of keep up with it.
Yes.
We always say that more and more people are feeling back pain. It's a very, I find it a bit funny in a way that maybe you would as well, but it's even in the physical therapy world, internationally, there's so much debate around back pain and research, and, who are they researching? Is back pain even real? People discuss all these different theories. So many theories.
Yeah.
But if I look at myself anecdotally, and even I would speak about it, I feel like I need to sit straighter.
Yeah.
But when I am conscious about my back, how I'm sitting, how I'm working out my back, and how I'm incorporating exercises for my back into my other stuff that I do, my back feels good.
Sure.
When I don't, it's very easy not to. It's very easy to sit here and kind of slump into the chair because most chairs that we sit on kind of force us into that bad position for our backs.
So you should sit on a stability ball. That's what you should do, right?
I know, which is what people kind of hate to hear, right? Hate to hear. But it's almost like as soon as there's a backrest, you kind of want to fall into.
Sure, of course.
It's
and today's generations of everything in front of their face. it's getting worse, right?
Yeah. So I'll circle back to my first question that I asked you. So Pilates, whereas I was recently living in Tel Aviv, where the hottest thing was reform Pilates.
Sure.
If you can every mainly women, but if you can get yourself into a Pilates studio and they get the reform, usually again I'm assuming here in the United States that you have huge studios with probably, I don't know, dozens of reform apparatuses. But in Tel Aviv, small city, small country, small studios, there's usually like 3, 5.
That's really
8.
the how it all originated, and there are a lot still like that, which I love.
Very much grassroots, boutique-y vibes,
absolutely.
And everyone's fighting for spots in those places.
Yeah.
So do you see now Pilates still staying like as a popular, workout modality? Do you see it catching on with, the next generation, the younger millennials, the Gen Zers? Do you see it catching on? I find, it could be just because I'm a bit more into yoga personally than I am just based on factually, not in any biased sense.
Yeah.
But factually, I've just done more of yoga. It seems like yoga in its own sense, because it has so many different denominations, and so many strains of yoga and schools of thought.
Types, yeah.
It's almost like there's a yoga for everyone.
Yes.
They can find it. But Pilates maybe seems more strict in a way. Like the only separation that I organically see when I think about Pilates is the reformer versus mat. So is it more nuanced than that? And because you touched on also, I'll throw another layer to that. You touched on before the different schools of like where you studied as well.
Exactly. So there's all different types of certification bodies that have different theories. That the most strict and the tradition, the Joseph Pilates, that's the classical Pilates where they set the exercises in a certain way, and then from there, just like yoga, people branch out, and there's different forms of Pilates.
So Joseph Pilates, is it like a certain amount of exercises, reps that are done in a certain way?
A certain order, yes.
Certain order.
So I do more of a different type of style,
okay.
But a lot of people were fortunate to study with him or to study with his people, which is really cool. But yes, I do see Pilates staying and growing because it's been around for so long, but it's finally getting the awareness that it deserves, I think, because boutique studios are so popular. So in a Pilates studio today, you might not see just a reformer, but you'll see the TRX on the wall with a BOSU. So they combine, it's more of a fusion class, right? So they're adding different components, maybe a little bit of bar work with the Pilates. There's also something you can put on the Pilates reformer with a jump board. So you do a little cardio and you're jumping off like a little trampoline lying down. I don't know if you've seen that.
I don't think so.
You could be sideline, you can be lying flat down. So that, again, gives you a nice little cardio boost. So there's so many different things that are being added to Pilates these days. And I think as long as, another thing I want to say is if you want to become a Pilates instructor and make a serious career, there's so many opportunities because I see such a shortage of Pilates instructors because of the growth.
So interesting. Yeah.
It is.
The reformer?
Reformer.
It's a reformer. Where did that originate from? Is it also a Joseph Pilates?
Yeah, that is. And he also has the Cadillac, which is another apparatus, and the chair.
Oh.
So there's different pieces of equipment.
So the chair, what is that? A regular chair, or is it a specific Pilates?
It doesn't look like it's a Pilates chair.
Oh, it's a Pilates chair.
So there's spring load on that as well. So you're using your body weight with the resistance.
And then the third one was?
The Cadillac.
The Cadillac. What is that?
So that's another big apparatus where you can hold on to and do things more like trapeze work, right? Up in the air.
And do you teach any of those?
I teach on the reformer and mat. Yeah.
Reformer and mat, and those are so I've never heard actually of the the chair.
There's a lot more.
And the Cadillac, all right.
And then things you can buy at home, the mini ball, the Pilates ring. Have you ever used the ring?
Yeah.
I mean that thing is
every mother has
$20 piece of equipment you can buy on Amazon.
Yeah,
and it just is a burner for your abs if you learn what to do with it.
Yeah. So. Do you think that Pilates will like almost be part of any type of workout when it comes to those like foundational principles, because it seems like that's where like even you're kind of taking it from there. So like someone who let's say strictly abides by the Joseph Pilates principles and teachings and do things in a very certain strict order. What are the claims, at least, of the benefits of that? Like, why would I choose that way versus maybe some modified versions like you teach?
So it depends what you like, right? So I would say take both classes and see how your body reacts, how you feel from taking those. But the principles, when you go through different exercises, you're learning foundational things, and then you're moving on to the next exercise in different ranges of motion, right? But when you branch out to different modalities, you may add different types of equipment. You may add, mini balls, dumbbells, things of that nature, where if you like traditional with just your body weight, it's just really a preference.
Well, I'm going to ask you a question that I ask every guest as of the last 20 or so episodes.
Sure.
What is something that you over your career life that you've changed your mind on? So maybe once you used to think X about something and now you think Y about it. It could be in your personal life, or it could be also to do with Pilates or your teachings.
Something I changed my mind about. Let me think about that. Probably a lot of things.
Yeah. So a lot of things is good. And again, I'm asking it from the perspective of a lot of individuals, even myself, as fall victim into just thinking a certain way. Maybe that's how what you were taught by someone, by an instructor, by a parent, by a friend, and you kind of stuck with it only because like was your first introduction. And a lot of people, I think, out of maybe fear, ego, defensiveness, maybe stick to that. Because they've been preaching it for so long. So the purpose of asking this question is to speak to listeners of the podcast, anyone who's maybe early on in their Pilates days, or massage therapy days or physical therapy days, who just graduated, who are students, just to raise their antennae and make them realize that things that they think now might change over time.
Absolutely.
So not to be too absolutist about anything.
So maybe what I would say is the opportunities are endless. I didn't know of the opportunities. So if do something you love in life, right? And I didn't go to school to be a trainer. I went for communications for business. So maybe that was something that changed. And then I was lucky enough to follow in college, to start teaching fitness, to start following my passion. Right? Most people at a corporate, not most people, a lot of people at their 9-to-5 job, they are miserable, right? They complain. You have a toxic work environment. Who's getting laid off? And I hear all that because I'm like the therapist as the Pilates instructor. So I hear that. And I think that perception of change, of going to school to be something that I didn't even know, but then I went the route of getting into the fitness industry. And the opportunities are endless. Starting YouTube that's kind of taking a risk because you're putting yourself out there. But the opportunities that has brought me and kind of spiral my career up is amazing. And you don't see behind the scenes of what goes on to do a YouTube channel, to do a platform, and then keep your certifications up to date. I'm a stickler to keeping up my personal training. I have NASM certification and making sure I get all my credits and CECs because I feel like we always have to be learning, right? You never know it all because it's changing. We talked about that. The theories change, things change. So I guess what I changed my mind about is what I wanted to do with my career, and to tell people that if you want to do something in the fitness world, a massage therapist, don't just think I'm going to be a massage therapist. You can do that, but you can be a presenter. You might be able to offer CECs. I got the opportunity with you guys doing that. But there's so much that you can do if you put your mind to it and your work and your energy. And I'm a big believer of energy, surrounding yourself with people who are positive. That's something that's changed in my world. I kind of limited myself to things. I say no a lot to things that just I can't give the energy to everyone and time. So does it align with my goals? Does it align with my family? And I am a creator to help people. I really just want to make people feel better, but I want to make sure also that my goals are staying in line.
Fantastic. Yeah. Being out there on YouTube, you have thousands of hours of you, instructing and teaching
Sure.
and performing all these exercises, and you are kind of throwing yourself out there to the world, in a world that there's so many individuals on YouTube alone, selling themselves and criticizing others, and it's like it's an overload of this
information.
So do you find it in a way hard, being yourself and putting yourself out there, trying to be yourself in a world where there's a very stereotypical generalized vision of what a fitness influencer is online, is on YouTube, and it's like everyone is expected to mold themselves into that, what the trendy thing is, versus just being you and bringing you on.
It's so interesting you say that, because I agree with that, and it is hard putting yourself out there. But I always try to, if I'm feeling discouraged, just say, look at the information the certifications, the education that I've built. And also look at how I make people feel. You can see the comments on YouTube of how the workout made them feel. I do a chair workout where I've helped people who are in wheelchairs and can't get up or are depressed. And that stuff just makes me want to keep doing it, because you're making people feel better. If there's negative comments, I kind of just ignore them, because they're not for me, right? You don't have to follow me. If you don't want to watch me, just hit end. But for the most part, everyone is so just open-minded, and they take in, they're thankful and they're grateful for the workouts that I give them, and that makes me want to keep doing it.
Fantastic. Yeah. So please, before we wrap up, please tell people where they can find you. And I'll take this opportunity to say thank you. Thank you for being here. I'm super glad we had this opportunity. I hope we get to do more together.
Yes.
I will, because of this.
You have to try Pilates.
Because of this hour, I because I've tried it, but I will invest more energy and thought into it.
Yes. And you have to find the right instructor too.
So I will somewhere in Florida. I'll find something, and I'll learn, and I'll try and recognize maybe what are some things that I do already myself that do derive from some Pilates principles.
Good.
So please tell people where they can find your work, your stuff, and then we'll wrap things up.
Sure. So Workout Hotel is my YouTube channel. You can find me there. And workouthotel.com is also my website. I'm on Instagram. I'm on Facebook. I give workouts every single week. I do a new workout on Saturday by 5 a.m. So if you have questions, leave your comments, and I'd love to help where I can. I have my Fit Club where you can also join that for more personalized, environment and live and on-demand workouts.
Fantastic. And we have an online course with Karen Vizueta, Pilates Principles, which is on neilasher.com. So go find it. It's great for manual therapists that are a big part of our audience, but also it's also
instructors and trainers.
Yeah, instructors, trainers, personal trainers, Pilates instructors. It's accredited by the NASM, which you mentioned as well, and the AFAA, AFAA. Is it AFAA? It goes by AFAA.
Yeah.
So it's a good one, great opportunity, great course. So Karen, thank you very, very much.
Thank you for having me. I had a lot of fun. Thank you, Danny.
Thank you.